Was there a particular time or event in my life that I realized that filmmaking was not just a hobby, but it would be part of my life and my living? Well, when I was over in Afghanistan, I realized that I really wanted to be a filmmaker. I used to take my camera and I would film different events that we did overseas. And when I returned from Afghanistan, I actually went to film school because that's something I really wanted to do. And I realized I went from one camera to several cameras. I said, maybe it's time to really pursue this. And that's when I decided I really wanted to be a filmmaker. Is it harder to get started or keep it going? Well, I think it's harder to get started because a journey begins with a first step. And sometimes we want to take that journey, but it's hard for us to even take that first step towards that journey. For me, once I get started, I want to keep going because my passion is so fueled that it causes me to want to move forward. So in my opinion, I think it's harder to start it up. What advice would I give someone who wanted to pursue a career in creating films? I would say, don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the money. You have to be a creator, a filmmaker, because you have a passion for it and you want to make films and it's something that you enjoy doing. So my advice is pursue the storytelling part of it because later on, I think the money is going to come. One of the most important lessons that I learned in my life that had an effect on my film is that you have to create things and you have to be satisfied with them. You're going to get a lot of criticism from people and it's their criticism. That's exactly what it is. And you have to always be positive about the things that you do because as a filmmaker, you made a decision that, hey, I'm going to do this film. And it taught me that no matter what anyone thinks about your film, you have to be happy with it and you have to be satisfied with it. Why? Because it's your story to tell. As a collaborator, when I collaborate with people, how do I discover members of my team and how do I keep the relationship strong? When I meet people and they have different talents, I try my best to connect with them quickly. So if I meet somebody who's a cinematographer or who does sound, I try my best to say, hey, maybe we can collaborate and work on something in the future. And I'd like to get your number. So you get a person's number, you forget all about them until it's time to shoot your project. So what I like to do is call them, hey, let's go to lunch. Let's connect. And you keep that relationship with that person going so that when you need them in the future, hey, they're right there. So it's all about being familiar with people you want to work with and collaborate with. What attributes make for a good filmmaker? I believe a person with an open mind, a person with character, a person with dedication, a person who has a personality. I think that's important. So you should always research and always be learning and always try to find out how you can be a better you all the time. Some people have this attitude that they arrived, but no one has arrived. So I think an open-minded, humble person makes for a good characteristic of a good filmmaker. I think the places you've been and the places you live in, maybe Louisiana may affect the person's work by their environment. I mean, we learn from people around us. We have stories. I mean, there's so many stories in this world to tell that we can never tell all of them. And I think that where you live and where you're from, it has a big effect on how you tell a story and why you tell that story in the first place. What makes a film great for me? The storyline and the acting. I think that if you have a good storyline and you have good actors in your production, I think it makes for a good story. I think that certain qualities that make a film better than other ones is the work that's put into it. We know the story of Cain and Abel, right? Abel gave a better sacrifice than Cain. Sometimes we have the same tools, but we use them differently, and sometimes we just don't put our best foot forward. But I think the quality and the good acting is good attributes for a good film. The films that have been most inspiring and influential to me is films with good acting, people who can really portray a story and a good storyline. I mean, it's really important. When a person is feeling afraid, I want to feel scared too because they feel scared. When they're happy, I want to be happy too because they're happy. So I think those are good qualities. There are certain qualities in cinema today that I dislike. I don't like to see films that portray a lot of violence against women. I try to avoid putting any violence against females in my stories, in my movies, Now we know that they happen. I got it. But I don't necessarily want to relive that through someone else. And I don't even want to direct something like that. So that's just my pet peeve. I just don't really like to those stories that are just sexual abuse against women and violence against women. I try to avoid those at all costs. I think that my love for movies got sparked as a child. Growing up, I loved to see people playing someone else and loved to see people telling a story about something, whatever that story was. And I think that as a community, if we share in the passions of others who have a love for filmmaking, I think it can rub off on us. And I think that we all can learn something, and we all, I mean, everybody, most people likes a film or a movie or some type of TV series, drama, web series, or whatever. You know, I think that it helps by just being supportive of filmmakers to really get involved with what they're doing. What makes a fruitful collaboration? I think to be with like-minded people. And in order to enhance that collaboration process, you should be around people who are like-minded, people who share the same passion as filmmaking as you do. Now, if you don't do horror films, I don't think you should hang out and collaborate with somebody who does horror films. If you like dramas, then you should hang out with a person who likes to do dramas. I think being around like-minded people is really fruitful and really good for collaborating a project and putting things together. There is a lot of stories, and what I like to do to keep things fresh, I like to mix it up a little bit. Sometimes people expect, you know, a 70-year-old man to fall in love with a 70-year-old woman. But what if a 70-year-old man really fell in love with a 30-year-old woman? Or, you know, or somebody of a different race or a different culture. I like to mix it up by mixing up the culture, throwing in those culture shocks to people. They say, whoa, I didn't see that coming. What failures of mine that I have been able to learn from? The failure to really take the time to find a quality team and a quality crew. We did a scene once and one of the guys had no experience with sound and the sound wasn't recorded. So I learned from that lesson. Sometimes you have to go that extra mile and find somebody who's skilled in audio. So it taught me a lesson that you just can't pick any old body to be on your film. Sometimes you just have to, you know, make a sacrifice to get quality. When do you know it's time to shoot a script? You just know what you know. Most of the time I have a script in my head and it goes from my head until on the paper. So once that process happens and I realize, okay, I'll step away from it and come back to it. And I said, okay, I read it twice, read it 3 times. I am ready to shoot this film. I think it's time for me to shoot it now. You just know when you know. I really believe if you have talent, you have talent. You can't make a person have talent. So some people just have it. And what is it that they have? They have the talent. What is it they have? A talented actor, they have the talent. They have the know-how. They know how to portray that character. They take those characters and they make it their own. And sometimes you have to give them a little bit of push and direction to make it pop. But what it is they have, it's the talent that they have. That's what it is. Is the film business fair? I don't know. I don't know if it's fair or unfair. I think people feel like haven't been treated a certain way, that some people get more opportunities than others. I just take it and try to make the best of it, because if you look in the film industry, so many people have made it from diverse backgrounds. I just think that you have to just keep pushing and you have to use the leverage you have, which is your talent and your films. So if life fair, people say, well, life isn't fair. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's fair or unfair. I just think you just have to work hard and keep moving forward. Is it the responsibility of the filmmaker to find and develop the audience? Absolutely. As a filmmaker, you know exactly what you're looking for and you know what you need. You can't expect anybody else to take your film and push it for you. It's your idea. It's your baby. It's like having children. You can't say, hey, can you take care of my kids? Though some people do. But you can't tell people to take care of your kids. They're your responsibility. So developing your film and marketing it, that's your responsibility as a filmmaker. Film festivals are important. You get the most out of them by choosing the right film festivals. When I first started, I just was submitting to film festivals because I was just doing it. That's what I was doing. But I didn't know you had to take your time and find the film festival that's going to be right for you, or it's going to take you a little further than you were before you submitted your film to that film festival. So I think they are necessary, but I think it's very important to choose the right film festivals and the ones that are going to work for you. I am on social media, and I use social media to work for me in a way that I get exposure. So I can tell 10 of my friends and they can tell one of their friends. So that's 20 people I affected. But on social media, you have a broader range. You can actually put your projects out there and say, hey, I'm working on this project, I'm working on that project, and it will help fuel your project. It will help you get other people involved in what you're doing. So I believe that social media is extremely important to furthering your film career. I think the fact that we have tablets, Android phones, iPhones, those are different vehicles in order for people to actually watch our projects. So I don't necessarily make my projects based on what people have. I just consider it as another way to get the message out. So I think the technology is awesome, and you use it in a way that it's going to help further what you're doing. I think what would make the film industry better is to have people who are ethically and morally sound, people who are not cutthroat, people who really care about you as a human being. I think if we had more people like that in the film industry, I think it'd be a better place to be. I think that filmmakers have a certain responsibility to the culture, but I don't think it all falls on the filmmaker. I think as a filmmaker, you should want to give back. You should want to share. You should want to inspire. Just because I'm a black woman doesn't mean I have to tell stories about black women, but I would want to. Why? Because I feel that somebody will be inspired by what I have to share. And I think it's important. I think it's something that you should want to do and not necessarily something you have to do. What inspired me to make Candace Queen? What inspired me to make this film? It's sad to see so many women in our society devalue themselves. Some women feel like they have to have sex with a guy because, oh, he loves me, he cares about me. But I wanted to show people that it's power in waiting for a good man. So this film is about a mother who protects her daughter's virtue. So if she has sex before she's married, then she will forfeit the power of the matriarch. Sometimes it's power in waiting for the right mate to come along. And that's what inspired this movie. I found my cast just by word of mouth in different casting agencies. I would tell people, hey, I'm going to make a film. I'm looking for actors. And I will actually go on different sites and I will reach out to actors to let them know that I had a project and I was looking for actors. Any unique issues that I encountered, I really can't say that it was any unique issues. I think anytime you're embarking on anything in your life, whether it's a film project or whatever it is, you're going to run into issues. You're going to run into things that come up. And I just think you just got to handle them. As a military person, I just learned to handle things. So I handle things in a way that I just take care of it. It's like putting out a fire. You're just not going to let a fire burn. You're going to throw some water on it. But if it's too big, then you need to get out of the way and probably call the fire department. But I just handle things. And that's just my nature. Someone I would like to thank who helped me on this project is a gentleman by the name of Thomas Benoit. Thomas Benoit is a native of Louisiana. And when I first started this project, I called him on the phone and I said, hey, Thomas, can I use your camera? We're going to shoot a movie. And I wanted the movie, my first one, to be quality grade. And I really loved, he had a Blackmagic camera and the Ursa. And I was like, oh, can you come down here? So he came down and he stayed with us for a month. And he actually let us use his camera. And that was how I was able to shoot my first movie. So I want to say thank you, Thomas. And I appreciate you so much, more than you know. Thank you.